Alright guys, so I'm going to start this video about rigging, and I'm not going way into depth, but as a project manager you need to understand rigging, because if you don't understand a little bit about rigging, you're liable to have somebody killed on your projects. So that's why I know about it, and I've seen things go horribly wrong. But anyway, we're going to do a little bit of light rigging here when it comes to some of what I'm working on. Now, on the top of this piece of wood here, it's flat. And if this was a square or a rectangle or an even cut piece, I would be in good shape. But it's not. It's actually a log flitch. So that means that the opposite side of this may or may not carry the weight evenly through this log. But the basics are this. In order to find out where to put the chain on this, start with your foot at the end of the log and step it off. The case is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. So that means I got to go back there about 4.5 plus a little, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half. So I'm going to just drop my chain there, my keys there, about where the chain should go. So that's approximately where the chain should go on this. Now, let me grab a tape. Let's see how close that is. Okay, so you can use a tape, you don't have to use your feet. That's just using something just in case. So it's 8'10", we need 4'5". For you non-believers, $4'5". It's right there. This is basically how you find the center of things, okay? And you need to know the center of things, because if you don't know the center of gravity on stuff, you're going to end up with the logs tilting and stuff out of control, possibly sliding through a chain or a sling and killing somebody. So basically we're going to just use this as an idea of how to find it. So 4'5", we just need a tape sit there for a second. Now because this thing is a log, and it's not necessarily going to be the same weight on each side of that, when I hook this up, it's going to tilt one way or the other. If it's dead level, I'll be surprised, only because it's not an even shape all the way around. Alright, so let me bring the chain over here and I'll show you how you do this. Alright, first of all, the first thing you need to know is this. The equipment operator needs to try and get the chain to the center of where the problem is, or the center of gravity, I should say. Okay? So now what I'm going to do here to get this chain under here easily is I'm going to take the chain and I'm going to make a 90 from where the chain is going to go wrapping around the log. I'm going to put this chain like this. The reason I'm doing that, because when I roll this log onto the chain, I'll be able to grab a hold of that other piece of chain there. Now you want to make sure you give yourself a little bit of slack. So give ourselves some slack here. What will happen is this will roll onto this part and allow me to grab the hook. Okay? A lot of times I see people, they take the hook, they go underneath, they can't reach under. I use the machine and I roll the thing for them, and they got the hook, instead of laying next to the log like this, they got the hook laying over here. What the heck good is that? None. So what you want to do is put the chain in the center. This part here is going to be in the center of where you want the log to be. Okay, that coming this way, and the rest of it can be either piled up or just pushed as far under the log as you can. Because I'm assuming I can't get under the log because it's laying on the ground. So let me grab my can hook. So what I'm going to do here, now this is actually a good example because it's an oddball shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this over. And here's what I'm talking about. The hook is right here, okay? I don't have to go digging for it. I don't have to play games trying to find it. Now, you can hook this hook wherever you want. If you hook this hook up high like that, you don't really have a grasp on that board. And when you pick it up, and I'll just show you, it can slide through the chain. So let me pick it up. Now if you notice it slid there a little bit. Now here's the thing. We're working with wood. And when you work with wood, the chain can put little nicks in the wood, and I'll show you, and actually lock itself in there. But you can't rely on that when you're working with steel. Okay, you see how that's locked in there? And even with that, you still don't walk necessarily under it. The chain link is locked itself into the wood. Alright, so let me just bring you back here. Just keep watching. So I'm going to show you this. Now, we thought we had that in the center. Now, if, as a man, I can hold this down and I have a helper, if there's somebody in the machine, we can move this to wherever you want to, as long as I hold it level. But as soon as I let this go, if I let it go, it's going to fall down that way. And it could fall to somebody's detriment. Now, if you see the chain move this way again when I dropped it. So now, when you pick it up, it's heavier now to push down. If I drop it again, the chain moves up, it's even heavier. It's a lot heavier for me to hold this down. So these are things you have to realize when you're working with chains and stuff. Alright, so now I'm going to set this down and put that chain in a spot where I think that it'll be better. So I'm going to put some boards here so that when I set it down, I can move the chain. Okay, so if you remember 4'5", which is right there, so we're going to move the chain back to that point. Now here's the thing, having the chain open like this, okay, it allows this log to slide. Okay, the battery went dead again, so now I got to go back and start where it left off. So I said, having this chain hooked this high allows whatever you're picking up, especially if it's round, okay, to move back and forth when you pick it up, when it goes on the angle. So you don't want to really hook the chain like that. What you want to do is you want to hook the chain up so that it grabs the whole of the log, so it chokes it. So let's see where we are now that we moved this chain back. Okay, now you can see this end's still down there. So let's see how bad it's down. You know, I'm not putting very much weight on there to hold that level. And here's the thing, when you move stuff, you want to hold it level. if the operator in the machine is a dope and he wants to pick this thing up where you cannot grab it, then you either have to have a rope on it or you have to have a chain on it. That's why you see me use that other chain I have. Let me grab it. Now I made this chain to act like what's known as a dead man. In other words, you don't talk, you don't give me no grief. He just does what I tell him to do. So what I do is on the low side, the side that's leaning down, I take and I put a catch in there and I bring the log up to where it's level, and then I put up this hook in here to help me hold this log level, like that. That's the only reason you see me doing that. Because if I don't hold the log level, the log could go totally one way or the other. And I made that thing out of a car spring or a truck spring that fell off one of these trucks that are working for the oil company. But anyway, that's all that is. Now the other day, if you look at this hook, that hook is open a little bit because I picked up such a heavy log and there was so much strain on it that it actually bent that, so I need to replace that. So that's another thing when it comes to rigging. Safety is important. You want to use the best chain, or oversized chain is better than undersized. That freaking chain over there, that's dog chain in my opinion, but it's what I had and it's what I'm using, and as long as I head towards a level log with a little bit of weight on one side, and that's the key. You need to have not dead level, because it ain't going to stay level. As soon as the operator starts to swing, chances are the log is going to move. So you don't want that. No matter how good the operator thinks he is, all right? I've been there. So what you want to do is have a little bit of down weight on one side or the other. It doesn't really matter which side, but whatever side hangs down, that's the one you want to put the dead man on. Now if you notice, you see that angle where that chain goes down and comes across there? I made that chain a certain length for a certain reason. I usually like to work with 12 footers. Now I can work with 16 footers with that, but it's not as good. Just to give you a little hint, that angle that you see right here, this angle right here should not be less than 60 degrees. In other words, this chain should not be hooked down here or anything like that. It should be at least 60. The higher you get that, the less stress there is on the chains being pulled. So, you know, if the bucket was curled and I could hook up the chain higher, then that's actually what you want to do, okay? So, for now, what I have there is good. So when the machine picks this up, and I do this because I'm the only one here, when the machine picks this up, it's going to stay fairly level. I'll show you. This is the whole point about what I'm doing. So you guys with your thumbs down because you didn't like the video, again, you're showing me how stupid you are because you don't understand just the technology that's involved in moving the log. And even some of you guys who never went to school and know how to do this, if I were to get into the technology and physics of what's happening here, believe it or not, you already know it. You just don't know the terms. That's all you're lacking. But if you know how to do stuff like this, I'd rather have you than a freaking rocket scientist who forgets which way up is. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to lower this down and I'm going to explain something else about the equipment operator. And all of this is important that I'm trying to tell you. The other thing is you should never go underneath the load. Yes, you see me go under the load. You see me under the bucket. If a hydraulic hose on that machine breaks, I'm toast. But I've been taking chances for 45 years, 50 years, whatever it is. I don't even remember how long it is. The point is I'm taking the chance. I choose to take the chance. Okay? And hopefully the operator don't do nothing stupid. So I'm going to lower this down. And I'm going to show you the right way to hook that up. That's not really the right way yet. Now I'm going to take the dead man off of here because the dead man is the last thing you should hook up if you have to use one. Now, if you have a helper, and almost anybody can do this as long as they can walk and put a little weight on here. When this log has that little bit of weight, let me show you this. When the log, or anything else you're picking up, it doesn't matter what it is, but just be warned, picking up steel is much, much more dangerous than picking up logs, okay? Because steel can slide in the steel of the chain. But anyway, what I'm going to say is, this way here, you can keep your feet out from underneath it, okay? And I can push down on this. Now you can see I'm in an uncomfortable position. So the operator, if he has any brains, he'll do this. He'll pick up the log or whatever it is while I'm holding it. Now I can't be in two places at once. So that I can comfortably hold this, preferably at arm's length. And yes, if the operator's good, he'll watch this and he'll keep an eye open for me so that I don't get hurt. I'm keeping my feet out from underneath the log and I'm holding down on it, okay? So you guys who work for the freaking ocean Nazi, whoever, I already know this stuff. I don't need your help to tell me where I should and shouldn't be. I know what the wood's gonna do. That's not to say that I couldn't have an accident. I could, but I choose, hey, I'm an American, I choose to take the risk, all right? So anyway, this is what the operator should do. My arm length, I'm holding that down. If that equipment operator knows what he's doing, he's gonna keep this thing right where I'm at here so that I can walk wherever I need to walk. If there's a tripping hazard in my way, he's gonna recognize what happens. And the thing is the operator can move that chain that way and I can stay where I am, trying to finagle the log. In other words, if I wanted to get the log between my building and the table that I have, I may want to hold this log like this. As he swings over there, I'll either move it this way or that way, and he should be working with you. But even though I have this chain like this, and you can work with this, the chain's still not right. This chain is dangerous the way it is. Let me show you the right way. So the right way for this guy for you to hook this chain up isn't like what you see here. The right way is to hold the hook and pull the slack from the other end of the chain and hook this as tight as you can. Now that's one way. Even this isn't the best way, but it's better, okay? It's better, all right? And with wood, chances are this is going to be fine. So let me just pick this up and show you. Now let me pick it up a little higher. Now, if this was a piece of steel pipe or steel channel of some sort, you would be a fool, and so would the equipment operator, to pick it up that high. But here's what I'm trying to prove with the machine. Because this is wood, and even though you don't have a choke hold on here, you have what's known as just a standard hook, you could actually move this log to be level, okay? And there it is. And like I say, the operator would never want this to be this high because you don't want to have to be reaching that high to work. But my point here of this right here is that the chain, because it's wood, is holding on to the wood. The chain is holding the wood because it's wood, and the chain can dig in a little bit. All right? So let me set this down and I'll show you something else. Again, this is not the ideal way to do things. Holding that log like that is not ideal. When I see somebody pick up stuff like that, and that's the way it goes, Even myself, I hate when that happens, but sometimes it happens because I'm alone. But if I had somebody with me, they do not allow this to happen. If they're going too high and I have to reach too high, see, here's the thing. If I put weight here to try to pull this down, that's as high as I can reach, it's really hard for me to pull it down. I want to be up at the end, but because he has it so high, I can't get up there. So let me lower this down. I'll show you a better way to look. Just want to put my blocks under there. Alright, here's something else before I go any further with another chain hook or another hookup. I want you to know this. The equipment operator also has to know this. When he sees me hook up the chain, you see how this chain is hanging down directly over the other chain, the chain that goes around the log? That's what you want. And this is what he should be doing. But let me show you what you don't want. What you don't want is for the chain coming from the machine to be in front of the log like this. And here's why. If you're standing at this end of the log, okay, let's just use the cant hook as an example. Probably hit my camera. If the chain's on this side, if that chain that's hanging down is on this side of the log, and the equipment operator doesn't know what he's doing, and he's not really seasoned, meaning he'll make that machine dance if he wants, okay? And I don't mean these guys who pick up the machine with the bucket and the backhoe that are playing games. They're salesmen. They don't know how to run the equipment. If you know how to run equipment, you know these things, what I'm telling you. But if the chain hanging down is in front of the other chain, let me show you what happens to your leg when he picks that up. The chain pulled the log that way, okay? It pulled the log that way. Now, not drastic, because I like my cant hook, but believe me, if a guy picks it up and he doesn't know what he's doing, he is causing grief for you. So you need to work with a good equipment operator. And let me tell you, what I do when I hire people, I make them show me. If I hire a carpenter, I tell him, hey, go out there, take a 2x6 and cut me a rafter for a 512 pitch building 24 feet wide. If he can't do it, next. Same thing with this. If I have an equipment operator and he don't know to straighten the chain out with the chain that goes around the connection point, goodbye, have a nice day. Because I ain't paying top dollar for nitwits that don't know what they're doing. I'm just telling you, I'm not in a good mood today, but it doesn't matter. I'm still teaching you some good stuff. Alright, so that chain is hooked that way. Now I want to show you a better way to hook this chain. Now some of the other things that you need to know are there's a whole lot of different ways for grabbing stuff. We've invented all kinds of tools. So this is the easiest to having a chain. It's what most people will have laying around. But the best way to make a choker around this is to pull the chain, go around the chain and hook it to itself. Okay? What you have there now is a slip knot. Now, be aware. Even a slip knot can get hung up on a link and not grab the way it should. But that is the way you should actually hook something up so that you can hang on to it. Because the more the weight that is, the more weight that you're lifting, the tighter that chain's going to get. Now you notice If you notice that chain, let me put you in the back here, because you got to be able to recognize all the stuff that I'm telling you. You see how that chain is not in the center of that log? When I pick this up, that means it's going to want to pick this side up first and turn that way. So I may not want that. I want this to pick up even. So if I put the slip knot right there, chances of it picking it up even are good. Now you see how I picked it up even rather than tilting it? And we're still pretty much level. If I wanted to, I like having a little weight on one side, because this way here, when you hook the dead man up, and I'll show you how to do that, it'll hold it level. If you make the board totally level so that nobody needs to hold it, and you only have one chain, it's not really safe, all right? Because it can, at any time, the equipment operator can move, and maybe the log will slide a little. But with this kind of hookup, it's better. I'm not saying it's foolproof, it's just better to have that kind of a hookup on there, okay? So I want to take and move that back a little, and we'll see how that operates. So to try to get this more level, and this is where you guys are in a big hurry. Oh, the video took too long to hook up a chain. If you knew anything about this, you'd know that the video was good for you. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but this end was coming off the ground a little bit at the same time. So this is going to be less weight for me to put on here. Okay? So I would say that that's about right. Now, what do you do with that when you're all by yourself? You can try and get it level, hook it up this way, and see what happens with it. Okay? Maybe it'll stay level if you have a choker hold on it. But if you notice, that choker hold is not as tight as it could be, okay? Now, it could be better, but because it's a chain, it's not grabbing the way it should, but it could be better. You can set it down and move the chain a couple lengths, it would be a better grip. So let me show you that. So all we're trying to do is get the chain to grab better. And see, I really can't get it to move, so I'm going to leave it at that. So let me pick it up and I'm going to show you how to use the dead man. Now if you notice, when I moved that log, I moved the chain before. It's not in the center. You see how the log is canted this way? Remember this stuff, because that is very important. So I can make that log straight. If you look at it there, it's leaning this way. So let me make it straight. It seems like a trivial matter, but when the log hits you in that freaking leg and breaks your leg, you won't think it's too trivial. Now you notice how that picked that log up flat? Okay, so here's a dead man. It's called a dead man because it doesn't give you any grief and it doesn't talk to you. Hook the dead man up. I made this out of a spring from one of the trucks that are driving by from the gas company. They freaking broke the spring off and I picked it up because they let it lay, and I cut this out of it. So I drive the point in. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull as much slack out of the upper part of the chain as I can, and I'm going to lift this at the same time. You want to pull this direction so that it stays hooked. So I pull that in such a way that the log is basically level. Now if you notice, I'm having a problem with my hook here, because yesterday one of the logs was so heavy that it actually straightened out my hook, so I have to replace that. that's another thing when it comes to rigging. Chains that are questionable and stuff, get rid of them. This chain here is more than sufficient to pick up this kind of stuff. But this is more like a dog chain. But it's easy for me to carry and throw around, and it does the job. As long as I don't make the weight that I need to pick up over there more than what that chain can stand, it'll take care of this. So watch how nice this picks this up. Now, you got to remember here, in order for this dead man to work properly, you have to have weight down on that side of the log. Not too much, but enough that it'll stay down. Now here's the thing. Sometimes you're so close to the center that even though this log here is level at this point, sometimes you're so close to center that if you pick this up too high, it'll literally pull that way. All it needs is a little bit of coaxing. So you want to make sure you have enough weight on that side to hold that down. Okay? So then, if I'm by myself, and I am, this is how I'm going to use this to go over there. And a lot of times I'm playing games with this. Sometimes I'll twist the chain, hurry up and get in the backhoe, knowing that this thing's going to twist this way and be right where I want it when it gets on the bump. But again, because I'm alone, it's sometimes a pain in the butt. For this, in this case, I would want, and you know this, I want the small end towards the head of the saw. So I might start this like this, and then swing it over there. But that's not really the point of rigging. That's something that you'll learn as you go. You can't have everything when you're by yourself. Alright, so that's how you would pick that up. Now the question was, how do you turn the log? Well, you saw that if I put this straight part on either side, that's the side that comes up first. So let me lower this down and I'll show you how to turn the log. Now if you're going to spin the log so that you can turn it on the bump, you don't need the dead man. Now here's the thing. What you want to do with this is you want to get this chain to be on one side or the other. The equipment operator can't really, he's going to move over there to do it. So if we want to roll this log towards me, alright, what we need to do is basically take this chain and get this choke over there. Okay? That's what you're looking for. You want the choke to be on that side. Now when I pick this log up, it's going to roll that way. You see that? And what's ideal on a round log, now this has a flat side to it, but on a round log, you want to put that choke as far over as you can get it. Okay? You want it to be as far around the log as you can get it, because the further it is around, the more you'll be able to turn it. I'll show you how to do it the other way. Now remember, the choke loop, and sometimes I even forget this. Yesterday on my video, if any of you were good at rigging, you'd have known that I made that mistake yesterday because I saw it myself. But in order to rotate it that direction, you want the choke on the opposite side, okay? So we're rotating it this way, like a clockwise if you're looking my way, but anyway, this direction. So you hook it up like this. If you want to rotate it the other way, you just go the opposite way. Now the opposite of this, you can't leave the chain hooked the way it is, because if you move this chain, if you try and rotate this chain and put it over here with a choker on it, like that, what's happening is you're pulling the chain and allowing the choke to be free. So that means that the chain will slide around the log. So what you have to do then is you have to put, like I said, the choke on the right side of the log. So the choke then would be on this side, alright? So let me throw this chain under here. All I'm doing is making a loop. I'll zoom in on this to show you better what it looks like. That's nice when you have a helper and you can hold the chain like that for you. Let me just show you what I'm doing here with this. Alright, I'll take this apart so you can see it. All I did, let me try and zoom back a little bit here. I'm trying to rotate the log this direction. Okay, I want this to go that way. In order to do that, you bring the chain in from the opposite side, the main part of the chain, and then you take this loose end that you have, put it around the chain over top of it, and then hook it in here. Okay, you hook it like that. When you pick up on the bucket or on the machine, it's going to pull that chain tight around that, and it's going to roll it the other way. Now I'll pick that up and show you. I'm getting tired of freaking talking. Alright, anyway. Now you just watch. That log is going to roll. This side's going to come up this direction. Now the reason it's not going to roll any further than that is because I couldn't get the loop down further because that flat spot was laying on the ground. But if that was a log, what you'd want to do is rotate this as far down on the bottom as you can to be able to rotate the log as far as you may need. If you have to rotate the log more than 180 degrees, you're rotating it the wrong way. Think about that. I'll let you think on that. But anyway, that's all you do. Now as far as how this is hooked up, there's no real secret to it. You don't have to have this a certain size, this loop. But the bigger the loop is, the chances are it's going to grab a little bit better to a certain point. Okay? And that's actually what you're after. And that's how you can turn the log. So that's about all I can tell you as far as how the log gets turned and stuff like that. So the important thing about rigging, though, there's so many things to know about all this kind of stuff in construction. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why I quit teaching. I quit teaching because the people who were the professors and the guys who were teaching had no experience from out on the job site. They knew none of this, yet they're telling their kids how to be project managers on a 100-story building. And they're assuming that the only thing a project manager has to do is count pennies at the end of the day. Let me tell you something. In today's world, and you know this as well as I do, we don't use two people if we can make one person do both jobs. So a project manager ends up being the superintendent on some smaller jobs. He ends up being the project manager. Sometimes he ends up even being the foreman on a job, which really sucks. But the point is the more you know, the more valuable you are to whoever you're working for. And if you're working for yourself, the value is priceless. Well, guys, I hope you understood what I was saying. I have no patience for people who talk like morons, you have a question and ask it in a decent way, I'll answer the question. If you make a comment like these nitwits about chainsaws, freaking what the heck is it? Welders and stuff like that you tell me you don't know a thing that you're talking about, I'm not answering those questions. I'm just going to either delete them or just pass them by, because I don't have time for that nonsense. Anyway, it's starting to drizzle a little bit and I'm tired of making this video. This thing's probably going to be long, but hey, it is what it is. Have a good one. Guys, I just want to add one little thing to this yet. I do this a lot. Let me just say this. When you go onto a project, especially construction, the first thing they do is give you a hard hat. They give you a pair of steel-tip shoes if you're lucky. And they'll also give you a green shirt or orange shirt, or a shirt that can be seen real well. But let me just say this. None of that stuff is going to protect you if you don't know what you're doing. You need to know why you're wearing steel-tip shoes, because things can fall and cut your toes off. You need to know why you're wearing a helmet and what the limitations of that helmet are. If the hose on this backhoe breaks and that thing hits me on the helmet, that helmet ain't doing me a bit of freaking good. That helmet is for a screw that fell off of a building somewhere. Otherwise, it's not doing much for you, okay? So you need to know where to stand, where not to stand. That is much, much more important than somebody wearing a hard hat. So you guys that are safety or Nazi police, whatever they call you, look, I'm not against safety. I'm all for it. I was a business owner. I didn't want my insurance premiums to go crazy, and I certainly didn't want to have a woman who lost her husband, or a husband lose his wife because they were working on my project. That's not what I'm after. What I'm after is, if you have no experience, let someone who does tell you what to do. Okay? And in most cases, any old guy on the job, if he's been there and he's old, he knows where to stand and where not to stand. And he can tell you. Because they're not teaching it in school, that's for darn sure. I can tell you that. I've been there. When I asked them the questions and wanted to teach that type of thing, they didn't know what I was talking about. Their safety classes are concerned with writing out a report and making sure everybody has their shoes on so the insurance company don't have a fit. Very little was spent with actual practical demonstration. I'm not saying all schools are like that. Some places are better. Depends on the teachers. But this is what we're after. I'm after trying to make things better for somebody so you don't get hurt doing this. You think Woodmizer wants people to be hurt? They don't want anybody to get hurt with this, I guarantee you. Only a fool would want that. Again, have a good one.